What's good? I'm in the stairwell. Don't ask questions. I didn't feel like holding up my phone to vlog this one because, contrary to popular belief, somebody with 275 pounds of mass on their frame, it kind of doesn't matter if your arms look like actual wet noodles, meaning that if I try to vlog something with my phone and it goes past 2 minutes, it starts to get tired. And on that front, I went and Googled, or didn't Google, but I put my gamer tag into Twitter just to see what would come up, kind of on a whim. I was bored. I should have been doing other things. That's that procrastination problem I have. And eventually, hopefully, I'll get better with it. But I justified it as I was taking a break from moving stuff in. I put my name into Twitter just to see what would come up. And a lot of things that came up were photos that fans took with me at conventions or events, and clips of me at work that social media managers had put up on official accounts. And every time I would look at those, I'm just like, God, I look like shit. Now, granted, most of them didn't have the hair fibers in here. That was something I didn't start doing until the very beginning of November last year. So that's become a constant kind of now. But then it's just a matter of the way my face looks, the way my body looks. Not so much a dysmorphia moment, but definitely just a self-hatred, self-loathing type of thing. And then as I was getting ready for bed tonight, I scroll through Reddit and there's the subreddit r/glowups. And I think the last one I looked at was a dude who was posting his high school pictures around 17 or 18 and then a picture of him when he was 24. And the difference is fat kid, totally nerdy, no confidence, to guy who spent a couple years on a submarine underwater and got jacked, has tattoos, looks so much better. And I don't really know what my glow up is going to look like. I'd like to envision kind of what that might be, because my dad is not necessarily the spitting image of what I want to become, but I'm assuming that if I were to get down to about his same weight, that I would look relatively similar. But there are things about me, like the baby face, the weird hair thing, I kind of can't help, but it makes me think that if I were to lose more weight, then the chin comes down and it slopes and just looks more flattering, and you don't have to find it in the midst of all of this weird ass beard shit. And the frame thims down, and I'll be able to get up and down these staircases without constantly getting tired as shit. Like, I gotta work on my conditioning, dude. I'm at altitude and I have to get up 2 staircases to get to my room. Like, my dad does embody a lot of what I think I would probably turn into with a glow up. But I'm just hoping that one day I will be able to, I'm not to say that I necessarily would, because it seems vain, and the reason people put stuff on Reddit, yes, is to share progress, but it's to get compliments about themselves on a subreddit like that. But to eventually get to a point where I could, if I wanted to potentially get similar effect to what some of the people who do post those sorts of before and afters, the reasons why they do it, I would love to be able to get to a point like that eventually. Not necessarily for the recognition, but just to feel as good about myself as I see in the progress that those people have made. And I would say it's a pretty decent motivator, but it's also just far away enough that I don't know when it's gonna be a thing that I'll be able to officially say. So because I'm noticing that my snacking habits aren't exactly great right now, because I just bought stuff to fill my pantry because there was nothing else in the apartment when I moved in, I think I have those things now, but it's not going to be the constant. I don't want it to be the constant. I want to get back to a point where I can begin this progress on glow up. And I think for a lot of the people who have those sorts of transformations, it doesn't happen over the course of a year. A friend, coworker of mine a couple months ago was like, yeah, you could totally like transform the way you look in like 4 months, neglecting to take into account the massive amounts of physical activity, the potential for starving yourself, and the extremes that you can take your body and your psyche to. Those just aren't quite things I want to do to myself. So this will be another case of looking back at a year, kind of seeing how much progress I've made, but at least immediately, right now, I don't want to let these habits dwell for any longer than I'd say Monday. So this is Thursday night, so I'll give myself the weekend to kind of get any of this other jazz out of my system. And by that point, I'm going to hope that, or I'm going to make sure that the move is basically done to a point where maybe I get back in the gym before I go on vacation and then just kind of get back into that sort of routine for, it might only be 2 weeks, but maybe that's 2 weeks is better than not doing it for 2 weeks, especially when it's just at the forefront of my mind. So I'm giving myself that sort of deadline, in addition to the deadline I mentioned from before of wanting to have the move done by a point where I would be able to get back into doing some creative work again. So I'm noticing how much time I spend on these bad habits and how much I dislike it and how I'm not really into it, but I still kind of do it anyway. So hopefully this is just another method of acknowledging the problem and then maybe being able to break the cycle. We'll see, I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll find out. So, kind of all I had to say. Yeah, peace, I guess.